Hello, migraineurs. I'm Carleen. I'm the founder of Heart Centered Life. And that's where I'm in service to migraineurs, meditators, and new life story seekers. But today I'm going to focus on migraines because I finished reading this book, A Woman's Guide to Managing Migraines. And her focus is on the hormone connection, which doesn't really affect me, but I still like to read a wide variety of books because there's always wisdom and insight in pretty much all the research that's out there. And there's a ton of research right now on migraines. So what I want to focus on a little bit, I'll just kind of lead you in, is we know that there are literally thousands of routes into migraines. So that isn't going to be my focus today. But what I'm going to focus on is what really struck me as a migraineur of 48 years. I've had a long history with migraines, lots of experience, lots of trial and error, lots of medication, lots of stuff that I've done with migraines over the years. But what she brought this to for me was something that no other physician or person really has kind of brought it all together in a way that is just so helpful. So of course I'm going to lose the page. Here it is. Okay. So she says the migraine headache emerges at the end of a sequence of events occurring in both the blood vessels and the nervous system of our body. Okay, so that's 100% spot on. So you can come at it through essentially the neurovascular system. An internal or external change disrupts a normally functioning nervous system in an individual who has a history of migraines. So an internal or external change. So the internal changes, again, I've said that we have thousands of routes into migraines. The internal changes can mean neurochemical changes, so from food or hydration or emotional states, anything that's disrupting the nervous system internally. And then externally are things like weather systems, barometric pressure changes, et cetera. So just think about that for a moment. The migraine headache emerges at the end of a sequence of events occurring in both the blood vessels and nervous system of our body. An internal or external change disrupts a normally functioning nervous system. So your nervous system is functioning, it's going along, it's doing its thing, and it's getting disrupted. Okay, but the migraine is coming at the end of the sequence. The next steps involve our cranial nerves. So there are 12 cranial nerves in the nervous system, and they function to support sensory and motor sensations of the head and neck. So oftentimes migraineurs will get that tight neck or they'll get neck spasms. This is already a progression into the nervous system of the migraine starting. So the migraine's on a route, it's moving, it's not static. Sometimes it can start in the gut, right? We know about the vagus nerve. So, but it's on route, okay? And so once it's getting up into the head, so up into the neck, it's going to get up into the head. So it's moving. When an inflammatory response is launched, the fifth cranial nerve, which is the trigeminal nerve, we know that, is responsible for the activation of the peripheral nervous system. So the trigeminal nerve feeds your eye, your upper and your lower jaw, okay? The trigeminal nerve can become activated or inflamed on one side or both sides of the face. As it becomes activated, it causes facial pain and pressure, including pain behind the eyes, facial pain over the cheeks, and even the jaw may occur. The trigeminal nerve releases neurotransmitters, which cause the blood vessels in the area to become inflamed, enlarge, and to begin to throb or pound. So thinking again about the migraine is en route. So it's started somewhere else, which is why you can have prodromal symptoms. It can be why you have aura. But it started already. It started, the process has started, and it's moving, it's tracking, and it's trying to get up there. So hence why your neurologists emphasize you have to shut it down early, because the farther it progresses, the more parts of your body are on board with the migraine. It's like a freight train. The harder it is to stop it. These neurotransmitters, this was another key point, include substance P, calcitone gene related peptides. So we know about the latest research in CGRP injections, and prostaglandins. So these inflammatory neurochemicals are now starting to activate in the trigeminal nerve, which is feeding your face. The inflammation spreads from the peripheral nerves to the brain stem. Okay, so think about again that route. It started somewhere else, it's moving through the nervous system, it's getting up into your neck, now it's getting up into your head, but we don't want it to get to the brain stem. Okay, this is a major thing for me, because I don't need to go into my whole story, but I don't really, for a long time, I was trying to treat the migraines with as least medication as possible. And I know that that's good in some regards, but I was under medicating. And so what was happening was it was getting to the brainstem, and then it was basically an unstoppable force. It was the freight train. I was being run over. So we do not want the migraine to get to the brainstem. That is like a no-go. Okay. It continues from the brainstem to travel up to the brain itself. It's as if the migraine has a life of its own, continuing to progress and worsen if a treatment does not break the sequence of events. Think about that. It starts somewhere. As soon as you notice that starting point, that's the shutter down time. Okay. And then there's lots of different ways that you can choose to shut it down. Even better, this is what I focus on, even better is preventing the starting point. Even better. But if you aren't there yet and you don't know how to prevent the starting point, then shutting it down early is essential for you to continue functioning as a human. Okay, as the migraine progresses and moves centrally to the brainstem and brain itself, it becomes harder and harder to treat. Yes, this is your ER visit. This is when you are getting into migraine status that just goes on and on and on. Like one time, not too long ago, I had a 10-day migraine. That was fun. So yeah, we need to be looking at shutting it down earlier. I'm just going to see if there's any other points in here. In fact, there's often a point in a migraine attack at which no oral medication can stop it. 100% true. We've all been there. Your triptans, your whatever you're taking is just, it's like candy. It's doing nothing. We don't want to get to that point. Now, sometimes it happens, admittedly. Sometimes we're in a deep sleep and it just kicks in, it's too fast. The movement through the nervous system is too fast to get a handle on. By the time you wake up, it's already at the brainstem. If that's your reality, it's extremely unfortunate. That's the worst case scenario. But there's still hope in terms of lifestyle, in terms of working at the same level. In a parallel way, you would be working on another level with your lifestyle. And so what you're trying to do is shift that pattern. You're trying to shift that pattern. It is a slower process, but it can be done. I've done it. I know it can be done. I know other people who've done it. So there is definitely hope with that. So just a few little tips. I'll see if there's anything else here. Okay. Just talks a little bit about the difference between migraine and, say, a tension headache. So I'm not talking here to people who haven't already been diagnosed with migraine. So if you're someone who has headaches and they're unusual, or you're concerned about them, then you need to get a proper diagnosis, because there is a big difference between treating a tension headache or various other forms of headaches and treating migraine. They're not the same. But migraine definitely is characteristic of any sort of movement makes it much, much worse. I kind of compare it to like a level 3 or level 4 ankle sprain. If you try to move with that, you apply pressure, you get the blood vessels pumping blood, you get the nervous system activated, you're just making the situation worse. That's how migraines are. That's why people are retreating to dark, quiet places where they are alone, because any stimulation is just too much. That stimulation can come in through the eyes, it can come in through the ears, it can come in through movement. So we're just shutting it down completely when we have a migraine. So I think I'll stop there. I guess the takeaways for me that were just so helpful, and it's funny how you can have a condition for a very, very long time. You can be studying that condition like I have. You can be working with it, but yet out of the blue, some bits of information just arrive and they're just completely helpful. And so that is what that has done for me. So thank you. I hope something I've said is helpful. You can always reach out to me. I'm at heartcentered.ca. I work specifically with migraineurs, meditators, and new life story seekers. That's my focus. Namaste.